The first results are in. And let's get right to the biggest surprise so far tonight. Incumbent King County Sheriff John Urquhart trailing his challenger, Mitzi Johanknecht. She's leading by some 10,000 votes.
I look forward to the next phase of votes coming in. I think that we'll continue to trend in the direction we've been going. And we're pretty excited that at the end of this, we'll be in office.
Good evening, I'm Lori Matsukawa.
And I'm David Espinosa-Hall. Now, there are hundreds of races being decided tonight. We can't touch them all, but we're scrolling results right at the bottom of your screen during the show. And of course, we're going to have complete results on our website, king5.com, and also the King 5 app.
King 5 has declared Jenny Durkan the winner in the Seattle mayor's race. She has a 21-point lead over Carrie Moon after the first set of returns.
King 5's Chris Daniels is with the Durkan campaign tonight.
Good evening. Definitely a festive atmosphere at the Westin Hotel in downtown Seattle. The music that was playing over the speakers just before Jenny Durkan walked into the room, Beyonce, Who Runs the World, Girls. Yes, Seattle will have a female as mayor of Seattle for the first time since 1926. Jenny Durkan did not want to absolutely positively declare victory tonight. She said there were still a lot of votes to be counted, but she noted the history in the room. There were at least 3 former Seattle mayors here, as well as dignitaries in the city of Seattle. I did see one former Seattle City Council member, Jan Drago, on stage openly weeping about the history being made here tonight. As you likely know, this is going to be an interesting transition for Durkan. She's going to have just a few weeks waiting until the results are certified before she officially takes over as mayor. Here's what she had to tell me about what that transition is going to be like.
You know, we've been thinking about this since I got in the race, and we'll have a team in place, but we're not going to try to do it all at once. We will have a transition that is orderly, that makes sense, and it's not just going to be change for change's sake. We're going to make sure that as we make these changes, they're all about one thing, and that is making progress on these really tough issues and seizing the opportunities. Seattle's a great city, and we're going to make it even greater.
Durkan talked a lot about Bertha Knight Landis, who was mayor back in 1926. If you've been to Seattle City Hall, you know that a room on the first floor is named after Bertha Knight Landis. Jenny Durkan will be assuming the top floor now at City Hall. That's the story here in Seattle. Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
But challenger Carrie Moon is not declaring defeat just yet. In a statement tonight, she said she's holding out hope that Seattle's late voters will surprise people.
Seattle voters won't let the future of our city be sunk by status quo thinking and politics as usual. There's too much at stake. We look forward to the next few days of ballot returns, and thank you all so much, and let's celebrate together what we did.
Political reporter Natalie Brand is with Seattle University professor Marco Lowe, and they are breaking down the race.
Guys, any surprises in this race?
I think the margin surprised both of us. It was larger than we anticipated.
Absolutely. 55-45 would have been a big spread for me tonight.
So King 5 has called this race. Marco, you have been working in mayoral offices in the past. Take us through the transition period. Obviously, this is an expedited transition that we will see.
You've got a 40-person mayor staff. You may make changes in the policy and budget shop, and every director is up for grabs. So it is going to be a sprint to fill those spots, and I think you may see people stay in place longer and then make decisions down the road.
Thinking across campaign season, Jenny Durkan made very specific promises and attached numbers to some of those campaign promises. 1,000 units of micro-housing, certain dollar figures attached to her proposals, free college tuition. So talk us through what is realistic. What do you think we're going to see in this first few months or year?
So first of all, she tied dollars, as you said, to all of this, and I think she had good help from budget staffers that knew what they were talking about. So nothing was crazy. I think she'll be able to deliver it. Also, Seattle is on an incredible upswing economically, so money is pouring into the city, so there won't be a lot of cuts to make this happen.
We will be watching more races to track. We'll be back with more analysis in just a little bit.
All right, and now to the most expensive legislative race in state history. I'm talking about the special election for Senate in the 45th District.
A lot of outside money pouring in, some $9 million all told. And at this point, Democrat Manka Dhingra is comfortably ahead. Here's Heather Graff.
The party is starting to wind down here in Woodinville, but Democrats here tonight certainly feel like they have a lot to celebrate after that first drop of results shows the Democratic candidate Manka Dhingra with a big lead in this race that will determine the balance of power in Olympia. And I had a chance to speak to Manka Dhingra a little while ago about what a win in this special election in the 45th district would mean, not just to her, but the Democrats across the state and really across the region.
You know, from a regional perspective, I think this is where I talk about environmental issues. I think making sure that the governors of all 3 states are committed to working on protecting our water, our air, and this will give them some leverage in doing that.
And tonight, Manka Dhingra thanked her Republican opponent, a former congressional staffer and entrepreneur, Jin-Young Lee England, for a hard-fought race, which is now officially the most expensive race in state legislative history. If this lead holds, it would mean the Democratic Party will now have complete control in Olympia, and that's in addition to Democrats already in control in Oregon and California. So many have said a win here in the 45th district would give the Democratic Party a sort of blue wall stretching along the West Coast and the ability to band together in opposing policies that might be introduced by the Trump administration. So we will wait for the final results, but right now, Democratic candidate Manka Dhingra feeling pretty good about what she's seen so far. Reporting tonight in Woodinville, Heather Graff, King 5 News.
And within the last 30 minutes, Jin-Young Lee England tweeted, "Want to say a big thank you to everyone who has supported me these last 6.5 months. It's been a long road with its ups and downs, but I am humbled and grateful for friends made and experiences shared. There are still a lot of votes left to be counted."
So we are back breaking down this race. Now keep in mind, as we've been mentioning, the winner of this race, if Dhingra's lead holds, it will be her. She will have to run again in 2018 because this was a special election. So given that and, you know, an upcoming election, Democratic priorities in Olympia, what do you think happens next year in terms of what gets passed?
I think you will see a more progressive agenda. There's been a lot pent up with the Republicans holding on to the Senate, but at the same time, they want to keep this seat and other close seats. So you'll see incumbent protection plans that really do keep a moderate hand on the rudder as we go forward.
I know you were getting messages and texts from national political consultants. Talk about why Washington State is on the map nationally.
This is a mini version of Virginia. A lot of money came in here. It was a purple district that could go either way. And in the wake of the Trump victory last November and his policies since then, they're trying to take the story to the next level of he is hurting the GOP and will in the 2018 elections.
Seen as a bellwether for next
Absolutely.
year. All right, we will keep watching. We'll get back to you in just a little bit.
In the race for mayor in Tacoma, former Tacoma Urban League CEO Victoria Woodards is leading businessman Jim Merritt. Right now, Woodard has 52% of the votes. Woodard served as a council member for 4 years. Tonight, she told King 5's Jenna Hanchard about her goals to create affordability and opportunity for all of Tacoma's citizens.
Up every day and going to work and doing things that make this city a better place for everyone who lives here.
And it's a virtual tie in the race for Everett's mayor. Just a handful of votes separate Judy Tuohy and Cassie Franklin. The race right now is really too close to call. King 5's Eric Wilkinson spoke to both women tonight.
Really did think it would be close. After the primary, things went back and forth, and we anticipate both teams did everything they could do in the campaign, and this is not a surprise.
I hope the campaign we ran in the last few days, honestly throughout the whole campaign, is working to get a broader demographic out to the polls, out to vote. Folks that traditionally haven't felt represented in our community. So if they came to the polls, they turned in their ballots, I think we'll do well.
Check in now with Natalie and Marco. What do these early results mean for these cities?
Very tight margins here, and what's interesting to note about this Everett race, there is a significant number of votes going to a write-in candidate. The Herald was reporting about 10%. That's unusual, yeah, Marco?
Incredibly. Breaking 1% for a write-in is incredibly hard to do. 10% shows there was a block that did not feel represented at the ballot, and they took their votes elsewhere.
What does this, we saw lower turnout in Everett. So again, we've been talking about what this means for the Everett electorate and the evolution of Everett as a city.
Everett's changing, going from a Boeing Navy economy to Funco and other companies there. It's also just an off-year election, and it's hard to get voters really jazzed up to go out and vote. So we're seeing that.
And turning to Tacoma, and the environment played heavily into this race, with a key difference between the candidates in that race.
A liquid natural gas plant at the port was a really hot button in the race, and we see the leader being a supporter of that on the jobs message and that it was a transitional fuel.
Those are races that we will have to keep watching in the days to come, because as we noted, they are at this hour just too close to call. We'll send it back to you, Lori and David.
Okay, now let's check out the race for Seattle City Council Position 8. Teresa Mosqueda has a comfortable lead with 62% of the votes over John Grant. And for Position 9, current City Council member Lorena Gonzalez holds a wide lead over challenger Pat Murakami.
So the next round of returns will be released sometime tomorrow afternoon. And actually, we're hearing it will be released right around 4 p.m. We're going to have those results live on King 5 News starting at 4.
Keep track of the races that interest you. We'll be scrolling results at the bottom of your screen throughout this program. And as always, you can find comprehensive results from every race on King5.com and the King 5 app.